You're live.
Okay, this is House Education, May 5th. The committee is probably about to vote on S214. And there are just a couple, obviously a short bill. But Sharon Ellingwood from the NEK Choice School District offered to be here with us in case we had any questions. And we haven't really taken any testimony from folks up there that I remember. Sharon does have some testimony to give us, which might help us with the floor report, and thought I'd invite her to go ahead.
Notes right here.
And then we will run through the bill quickly, and then if everybody's ready, we'll vote. Sharon, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. I would like to especially thank the chair and the whole committee. For the record, my name is Sharon Ellingwood from the NEK Choice School District. I'm a member of the board and also on the board of the Essex North Supervisory Union, which is two districts, the Canaan School District and the NEK Choice District. I reside in Essex County in a town of 87 people with 2 people per square mile of our population density. The NEK Choice District consists of 10 towns, and they are Norton, Leamington, Bloomfield, Brunswick, Maidstone, Guildhall, Granby, East Haven, and Kirby, and Guildhall, sorry. I've appreciated the thoughtful testimony that has been given in this committee on S214, and I also at the same time want to recognize the broader work you're doing on education reform. We respect the effort under the pressure that you're under. The fact that you've made space for S214 in this session, it really speaks to me and our communities that it's simple that we matter. So thank you. Our Act 46 work brought the NEK Choice School District together as a novel large choice district, and we have built a strong unified district across 10 towns. S214 would not exist if we were just one small town as one district alone. Our merger is a success story that brings us here today. Without that collective effort of 10 towns, the pre-K need we're discussing may have remained unaddressed. It is meaningful to see this level of care for pre-K across micro-rural Vermont and Essex County. It's taken more than 5 years of advocacy where pre-K was not universal. For families who've been left out of pre-K, this will open a true door. Families can enter the workforce, and children can be better prepared entering education sooner, and their futures will be much stronger. S214 is a thoughtful and important fix for our youngest learners. As you know, when children arrive at kindergarten ready to learn, outcomes improve and the need for costly interventions can be reduced. It's a smart investment that benefits students and families and taxpayers and schools. So thank you. I had a lot of help from Building Bright Futures with a lot of this data with their regional manager, Linda Miknowitz, and a lot of partners across the legislature and the state. So thank you.
You're very welcome. I say this out loud to people, but I don't know it to be an absolute fact. There are no public schools in any of these communities. Is that correct?
That is correct. We are like operating structures. None of us have schools. Many of these towns closed their schools. Guildhall closed their school when they had about 8 students in town, and they now have 42.
Really?
Yeah. This choice has a lot of meanings to a lot of different people. And this model has strengthened Vermont by welcoming young families into our state, which is a true goal that we would like to have in Vermont. And East Haven is up there too, from very few students to I think approximately 38. Those numbers change, so please don't quote me on today's date.
Our one absent committee member today is actually grew up in Guildhall, so
Nice.
I'm here to hear that.
Plus taught.
What's that?
I mean, first teacher.
Oh, first she grew up. She went to Lancaster High School or
Yep.
okay.
Thank you.
Could you give us a sense of what the pre-K landscape is in these 10 towns? Is there private pre-K that exists?
There is one pre-K in Essex County, in all of Essex County. It's a giant county, right? A lot of land. It's in Canaan.
Oh,
This fix generally is for children in the towns along the Connecticut River below Bloomfield, Maidstone, Brunswick, Guildhall. Those students are 30 minutes plus from like a Head Start, say Brighton or Concord, and they're a mile from a pre-K in New Hampshire. They can enter New Hampshire K to 12 systems a mile away. So that's generally where they go. It follows the work patterns, the patterns of where grandparents are, where parents work. So when I estimated this in the beginning 6 years ago, we were talking about 7 students per year in these very tiny communities that might exercise this out-of-state pre-K choice that the UPK statute currently inadvertently does not allow. It's not a lot of kids. The JFO estimated that a little higher to be safe, and it could be a 3-year group, 3-year-olds, or it could be a group of 4-year-olds. So that's why the number appears larger, I think, but it really isn't going to impact students that live on the eastern side of the district or the towns that are very near Canaan, such as Norton and Leamington. Those patterns tend to put those kids in pre-Ks in the Canaan, Vermont school. So it really depends on where the parents are going and where the town is in relation to where they can go.
Great
Not a lot,
information.
not a huge number, not a huge number.
Committee members, any other questions?
One question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You used the phrase, and sorry if everyone else has heard this phrase before, but micro rural Vermont. And I was just curious, what is the actual like cutoff or definition to make something micro rural?
I use micro rural in a casual sense. I am not a data manager.
Okay.
I will just say that. I do generally define that as micro rural when I look at Essex County. Where I live, it's 2 per square mile. I'm not the only town that has that density. Brighton is about 20 per square mile, and St. Johnsbury is about 200 per square mile.
Yeah.
So when you think about the NEK, and I know you're from the I think was that.
Yeah, yeah.
I know you're from the NEK. I'm so appreciative of the work you're doing for the NEK. But within the NEK, we're micro rural.
Right. So, but the whole NEK is, and so I was just wondering, like, if I was to be asked, where is the line of differentiation? I guess there's not a number though.
It's a feeling.
It's a feeling. Okay.
You have 2 people.
I think it's data. When during COVID, there were studies about capacity in our state, the towns that had the lowest capacity. I think it was the capacity index. Forget who it came from. I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared to bring that up today. But the towns in our county, in my school district, are at the bottom. We're at the bottom of that capacity index to apply for COVID funds and do that kind of thing. So when I say micro rural, I'm using a dictionary definition and the statistics that I know are true for the different scales of the towns in the NEK. There's Caledonia, which has its own, feel, and then Orleans County, which has other central structures, but Essex County really is different than the other 2 NEK counties when we collectively talk about the NEK. Essex County is a little different, smaller.
No, I'm just saying definitely because I'm from Essex County, so definitely.
Yes, thank you, Representative Quimby. Thank you, yes.
Sharon, thanks very much. If you wouldn't mind hanging for a few minutes, that'd be great. And we'll just run through the bill quickly with Legislative Council, make sure there aren't any other questions. It's more a refresher course than anything else.
Good afternoon, Beth St. James, Office of Legislative Counsel. Do you want me to share my screen?
Sure.
So we have S214 is passed by the Senate. Made no changes to this, so we're just looking at the as passed by the Senate version, an act relating to the provision of pre-K education in geographically isolated school districts. It is an amendment to Section 829 of Title 16, which is the pre-kindergarten education statute. Those 3 asterisks represent the entire statute. We're not making any changes to what's currently in law. We are adding a new subsection at the very end that reads, notwithstanding any provision of law to the contrary, the NEK choice school district may provide pre-kindergarten education to eligible pre-kindergarten students by paying tuition pursuant to this section to 1 or more pre-K programs operated by a public school in New Hampshire that is located in a school district within 25 miles of the Vermont border. The Essex North Supervisory Union shall be responsible for administering enrollment procedures and managing pre-K tuition payments pursuant to this section and state board rules. The superintendent may apply for and receive a waiver from the Agency of Education and Agency of Human Services of any rule provision that is impractical for the any K-choice school district or the New Hampshire program by demonstrating that a substantially equivalent provision is offered. And then this language would take effect on July 1, 2026.
So lines 15 through 19, when you were here previously, I think you gave us some examples
Oh,
of what waiver might be sought. I think one of them was, for example, New Hampshire doesn't have the Vermont early learning standards.
correct.
And pre-K dollars can only go to a pre-K program that has VELs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, the way that our public pre-K system is structured is that in order for education fund money to go to the pre-K program, it has to be a pre-qualified provider. And there's certain criteria that those pre-qualified providers need to meet, both public and private. And one of those things is Vermont licensed teachers. Another is following the Vermont early learning standards.
Yep, that's what I figured I might get questions about.
Right.
And I had the Vermont teacher licensure. I questioned if the distance of 25 miles might be a way. What if it's 26? What if it's,
I think you could say easily.
But I think
that
those
through
two-
testimony-
those two are the
testimony
big
we just
ones.
received, there's about a mile.
Yeah.
If they're done 5 miles, we're probably okay.
that's two good ones if someone asks.
And I will note that I can take no credit for this language because this language came to the Senate by way of the Agency of Education and DCF working with the affected communities to come up with this language. So it really is a compromise from the field.
Committee, any other questions? Would somebody like to move that we approve S 214?
I move to approve S 214.
Okay, we got 3 people. Give it to the new guy. Okay, Rob.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Because I'm the one that has to email the clerk. So we're actually finding it favorable, right? Not favorable with amendment. It's just, because so it'll be listed as favorable in the calendar, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with no amendment. If everybody's ready, I'll have the clerk call the roll.
Right, Representative Brady.
Yes.
Representative Brown, yes. Representative Dobrovich.
Yes.
Representative Carpel.
Yes.
Representative Hunter.
Yes.
Representative Emily Long.
Yes.
Representative Case Long.
Yes.
Case Howson. Representative Morgan.
Yes.
Representative Quimby.
Yes.
Representative Conlon.
Yes.
All right, 10-0-1.
All right. Representative Quimby will be the reporter on the bill, and we'll get all that out. So we'll get on the notice calendar tomorrow.
So Thursday.
Thursday, Friday.
Yes, all right.
Great. Okay, thanks very much. If you're not in a hurry, okay, no, we'll stop here. I just had a question for you. Sharon, while we have you here, I just got a little curious about the Guildhall stat you gave us. Guildhall's always had choice, or is that wrong?
They had high school choice when they had their elementary school.
Oh, okay.
They
All
did
right.
have a school. It would be hard pressed for me to tell you when it closed, as we were not a merged district at that time.
Yeah.
More than
Okay,
10 years ago.
great. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon, and your
Thank you.
perspective from up there was very helpful.
Thank you. The study that I was rather clumsy with was in 2022. It's the Vermont Community Index, which was developed by the Department of F&M for towns to take advantage of the MTAP program, the Municipal Technical Assistance Program. So they ranked like what kind of capacity towns had to apply and how many, full-time town clerks, that kind of thing. So it's a good data source for our area, and we are at the bottom. So thank you for allowing me to clarify that and for attending today. Thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you. All right, so can we just some agenda talking? We have at 2:30. So this is sort of like me filling our time with informative stuff that will set everybody up for having good information in the future. So I'm on the board of the New England Board of Higher Education. One of the priorities that they have is creating and bringing together people together on talking about how do you get higher education into prison systems. There's a lot of work going on in other states, innovative work. And so I thought, since we have time and space, for this, at least this week. We can talk about what's going on in Vermont. And then later in the week, we'll have the New England Board of Higher Education come in for two reasons. One, just as a sort of introduction as to what it is, what it does for Vermont. And then two, to talk about their work in higher education in the prison system. So that's why you see that on the agenda. It's really just informative at most. Tomorrow, we've got a couple of kids coming in to talk about student on school boards. And I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do anything with it. But, you know, if we could sort of negotiate quick passage of a miscellaneous ed bill, if we were to amend it and send it back to the Senate, we could move forward with, I would say, in addition, that might look simply like AOE will come up with a model policy working with the School Boards Association to make sure that every board that governs a high school has, you know, a student member on it,
A
something like that.
student voting member.
We won't do voting members because that's got constitutional issues because they haven't been elected by anybody.
Yeah.
So are you basically saying there is no way for that to pass then? Because we can't support student voting members, it would have to be a non-voting member.
Yes. Yeah, I think you could have a student vote in an advisory capacity
Advisory.
only. But, you know, in a world where we are electing people based on population and all of that, to then give a vote to somebody who hasn't been elected.
Maryland does it though.
Yes, it's a fairly limited way of doing it. I just don't think it would pass constitutional muster in Vermont.
When I was on the school board, we had something similar. They didn't vote, but we did ask them, we didn't task them, but what's important to you? What's important to the student? We're going to be talking about the flagpole policy or whatever the thing is. How do the students feel about X, Y, and Z? Before they would present, we would have our conversation and we would take what they said into consideration as we sit and vote, just like public comment. And I think that they felt like they were a part of that process sitting at the table. Nervous.
Yeah, I agree. And I actually like Harwood's method of saying, you vote, we just won't count it.
Right.
But I mean, students already can sit on school boards, they do all over this.
Right, this would make it
Voting.
mandatory, which I think is part of what
Right.
the students who
Well,
sponsor the bill were asking
No,
for.
what they were really asking for is that their vote would. So
They'll take it up with the US Supreme Court.
Yeah.
But that's the part I guess I don't understand, because Maryland did pull it off.
Well, I think you have to look at the nuances of
Yeah.
how Maryland did it. I suspect it's fairly limited.
So I guess I would say at this time in the session, that could not be sorted out in time to get that passed. So the non-voting member piece could perhaps pass out and that could be
Yeah.
investigated.
We could also,
By-
we could task the AOE with investigating.
With
the legality
investigating,
of it,
yeah.
Or constitutionality of it, yeah. And so then later in the week, you can see on Friday, we've got the New England Board of Higher Education coming in. 9:15 tomorrow, Act 70, you may want to change the name of that since it's not part of Act
Oh, that's true.
73 of 2025. It's a possible addition to miscellaneous ed. Okay, so we